Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AGM Live for the Women's Premier Soccer League here. We're coming at you live from Oklahoma City. We have some great interviews. We have just announced the alignment for the 2024 season. And right now we are speaking with the WPSL Commissioner, Kendra Halterman, and Executive Director for the United States Adult Soccer Association, Bruce Brody. Hi, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for taking the time. I guess let's just start with the WPSL and the fact that we're kicking off our 2024 season. It's the 26th year. We're very excited. We have everybody here coming together to learn about what's going on this season. Kendra, how's everything been for you in this AGM live, this AGM meeting for the past couple days?
Yeah, it's been great. This time of year is like one of my favorite times where we get to have our membership all here, mingling and talking and kind of going over the logistics, for the upcoming year, but also go back and reflect on, the journey from the previous year. This is super important for us to all be here. It means a lot, not only for the league, but, also from the team standpoint too. So yeah, excited to be here.
And Bruce, the USASA is the sanctioning body of the WPSL. And talk to us a little bit about the kind of partnership that has to happen between the organization and the WPSL and how all that works together.
Sure. So we've got WPSL is a national league of ours, and it was a year ago, we have a Tier 1 status that WPSL has. So they're the only national league on the women's side that has Tier 1 status. And so that gives, I think it's a benefit to them. Kendra can certainly talk about that. But as we look at our leagues, national and regional leagues, we want to partner with them in a way that we can help them. What do they need? How can we assist them in making their league more successful, their teams, make things easier for them to operate. As an association, there are places where we can offer some support and help in that. So it's important. And then from having an organization like WPSL, and that's a big benefit to us because we get to say, hey, we've got the largest women's league is a USASA league. So it goes both ways, and it's really good to partner with an organization like WPSL. They run a great league, and they've got wonderful competition. It fills a real need out there, and that's what we're looking for as a national organization.
Kendra, what's your perspective on the significance of that Tier 1 status for the WPSL?
Yeah, it's definitely it is an honor for us to be accepted, into that status. It also means for us that, WPSL has been this is going to be our 26th year. And, it means a lot to us because we have been around for such a long time under the USASA, following their rules and guidelines and things like that. So it just, also is a very, very appreciated thing for us to be granted that as well, because it means that we're doing a good job and that we're growing and that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing. But it also gives us, that status too, where we're just a little bit different than other national leagues. So it's very important for us to have that.
Kendra, you are also on the board for the USASA, the affiliate director.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot going on. Talk a little bit about the national cups. I know it's in the 100th year, right?
Yeah. So my role with USASA, I am on the board. I represent the national leagues, and it's important for us to have we have national cups. They've been around for a long time. It is going to be our 100th year. I'll have Bruce kind of talk a little more about that. But it is super important for the women to get involved in this because there was a period where it kind of died off on the women's side. And over the last couple of years, I've been really fighting hard, with USASA to bring all this back. And we really need the women to get back on board and supporting this because it is super important. And only that, it gives them an opportunity to go out and win a national cup. So I'm really excited about it. It's going to be in Chicago, but I'll let Bruce talk a little bit more about it for the next.
Yeah, it's so 100th anniversary of the National Amateur Cup, but in 1924 women weren't competing at all, and Kendra's right. She's been instrumental in keeping this on the front burner for us, and we did have a competition last year. This year, obviously, is the 100th anniversary year. We're really putting a lot of focus on this. It's going to be our premier event for the year, and it's a great opportunity to showcase the women as well, because we're going to have a spotlight on the entire event, and the 4 women's teams are going to be at the national event, just like the 4 men's teams. They'll have their day for their final separate. They're not going to be, in anybody's shadow. And just being out here and talking about it with people in WPSL, I mean, there's a lot of interest out there. And I think getting it out there, and this year having the extra, I guess, spotlight because of the anniversary year, even though it's not 100 years of women, will hopefully boost the profile of the women's side as well, and we can continue that as strong as we have on the men's side.
And I will also say, for the last couple of years, I have been fortunate to have my local women's team play in the National Cup. And for them, there's some of them that don't play WPSL. They just play in our local Premier League, but it gives them that other avenue to still be able to win a national championship. Even though they might be in their late 30s or 40s or whatever, but it meant so much to them. My team happened to win it in 2022 in Tennessee, right?
Yeah,
It's like, where were we? In
Tennessee.
Nashville, yeah. But it was so awesome for some of these girls to have that opportunity that they probably wouldn't, have had since their college days or, before that. So it meant a lot to them to be able to see the atmosphere and be a part of it. And they were so grateful. And that's what it's about, right? And it was just awesome for them to see and play.
How do teams get involved if they want to be a part of that?
So the best way, or I guess maybe in some ways, the easiest way is if they're contacting, get a hold of their state association. So our organization is split into 4 regions, but the state associations may be having their own state cup competition for women or another competition where they participate there, qualify from that, and then move on within the region and compete within the region, the teams from the other states. So first contact is probably with the state association. We're going to have information from the national office as to how it will work in each region, because they all have their own little special ways of doing things, I guess, historically. And but ultimately, each region will produce a winner, and those winners will then come to Chicago, and that's USASA is taking care of all their transportation and lodging and everything to come to the national event, so that's not an expense, for an amateur team once they've competed and won in their region. So there'll be competitions, either state cups, or if a state doesn't have a state cup, we will help the region administer the competition so that they've got, we can minimize the cost and the travel for an amateur team until they get to that regional event. So that's the best approach. Basically, it comes kind of from the ground up until you get to go to Chicago.
And that's exciting.
Yes, very exciting. It'll be very exciting this year.
Speaking of exciting and competition and championships, U.S. Open Cup, I know there's been a lot more conversation around this as well.
Yeah, I'll let Kendra talk about this part.
Yeah. For years and years, I have been fighting with the Federation to kind of create a women's task force so that these kind of things can come up and we can talk about it. And I know they probably think I'm super annoying because I always bring it up every year to them. But I will say, the Open Cup has been on their agenda for a couple of years, probably at the very bottom, sometimes being pushed to the next meeting or to the next meeting again. But I will say it is now the talk. We are talking about the Women's Open Cup. We are supposed to be having a meeting with the Federation, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, to kind of talk a little bit more about it and the logistics and what they're thinking and all that kind of stuff. But this is so needed, and I can't emphasize enough how much it would mean to all of the different levels that would get to participate in this, what it would mean to them to have this Women's Open Cup. There are, players' dreams to be able to participate and play against, the best of the best. And this is the best way for them to do that. And so I know for me, like, it was one of my dreams to try to, push this because, again, for the last couple of years, I also am on the Men's Open Cup disciplinary committee. And I see what it means on the other side, on the men's side. And I have been wanting this so bad for the women. And so for it to now be a little bit more of a priority, it means a lot, not only to me, but I know it's going to mean a lot to the women as well.
Absolutely. That would be a very exciting development in the landscape of women's soccer for sure. Bruce, I want to go back to you for just a second. I want to ask you how you got involved in soccer. What's your story? How are you connected to it?
How did I get involved in soccer?
Yeah.
Well, I try not to bring this up too much in a room full of coaches and managers and owners, but my involvement was as a referee. That's how I started. and I have to admit that I'm still a referee, even if I'm not on the field as much as I used to be. But I grew up in Iowa, in northern Iowa, and I have to say that even today, there's not a lot of soccer in that part of the state. So I didn't get involved until I had kids, and did a little bit of coaching for my son, but quickly became a referee. And so that's where my path started. And the soccer bug bit hard and has stayed there ever since. But I went from refereeing, being involved just as a referee, and expanded there, and then got into the game side. What the referee side would maybe call the dark side of the game. My friends on the game side say, no, you've been rescued from the dark side of the game. And it's just been wonderful. I mean, the people are great. And I have so much fun on the soccer field. I mean, even as a referee, I have so much fun on the soccer field. And that's where I got involved. I became more involved in the state association, and now I've been here as executive director for less than a year. But it's fantastic. I just love it.
That's amazing.
Days like today and yesterday at meetings where the teams are and the clubs, owners, the leagues, that's just it. It's energizing. It's great. You walk out of here really excited about what can happen next year. So
yeah, it's really great to be in the room with that many people who are that passionate about soccer, and particularly women's soccer.
Yeah.
It's a really, like you said, energizing place to be for sure. Kendra, I want to ask you the same question. Yeah. I know you've been involved with the WPSL for about 2 decades, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
But obviously you got started in soccer before that. So tell us your soccer story.
Yeah, sure. I grew up in a soccer family. My dad coached my older brothers. And of course, I was just a little one running around the sidelines, but then it was kind of my turn to play. I jumped in, and so I started playing at a younger age, 6, 7, and then started playing competitively. And I played, back then we didn't have all of these divisions and things that they have now. It was like very simple. It was AA or AAA, like it was very easy. But I played for a club team called Devastation. We were a very small club in Davis County in Utah. But we were a powerhouse. I mean, all of the teams, we had, I think, 3 or 4 teams in our club, and they were all very strong. And I was fortunate to have a lot of those same players on my club team that also played with me in high school, where, again, we kind of dominated the field. So I had a great experience, winning championships and, all the things that come behind that. And then when I graduated from high school, I ended up just going straight to the WPSL, and I have been here ever since. Started as a player, and then in 2008, started my own team with two of my friends. In fact, one of them, Dennis Burrows, who has another team here in the WPSL. We started a team called Sparta Women, which turned into Real Salt Lake Women, which then turned into the Royals. And then throughout that whole journey, I was a delegate to an associate commissioner to where I am now.
That's a journey.
Yeah, it's a journey, and I still sit on many, many boards. I wear a lot of hats in the soccer world. I'm a commissioner for the WPSL. I'm also the vice president for the Utah Soccer Federation. Like I mentioned, I sit on the U.S. Open Cup Disciplinary Committee. I'm on the board for USA representing national leagues. But you know what? In reality, it just seems like all of them kind of flow, and I am able to help each and every league in different ways. I left out my deaf. I'm on the board for the U.S. Deaf Soccer, and who now is recognized as an extended national team, which was so exciting to be a part of that journey as well. But they all, even though I wear all these many hats, I feel like I am able to benefit each and one of them in different ways. That has been very helpful. And it has also given me so much knowledge in different aspects of the game that I never even knew were possible. Just coming as a player or something like that, like you learn so much behind the scenes. And so wearing all these different hats, even though sometimes it's a lot, at the same time, it's been super helpful for me to just, have relationships with certain people in the soccer world and those kinds of things. So it's been very beneficial.
So over the years, you have obviously given a lot of yourself to this sport. What do you feel like it's given you? What do you feel like you get from it?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what Bruce was saying, my little soccer passion has never died off or gone away. Like it has, if anything, just continued to thrive and makes me want to do more. I just see there's still so much out there lacking. And especially on the women's side, that's my passion a little bit more, that I would love to see change. And I hope that, in the years that I have to give to the game, that I am able to change some of these things that aren't there.
I feel like for the 2024 season for the WPSL, I feel like it's kind of finally found its footing again. It's kind of stable again after the pandemic and after going through some struggles with that. And I feel like we're back to now we can start thriving again, as opposed to just trying to get us back to this baseline level.
Yeah.
What do you feel is the next step in the WPSL moving forward through the 2024 season and beyond?
I mean, I understand what you're saying with the pandemic. It's easy to kind of fall back on that and make excuses of like, oh, that was just because of the pandemic, or we're not doing that anymore because it's Zoom, and we just, all of those things, right? But no, I think we're finally on track where, we are able to fully operate. We're able to do all of the things that we need to be doing. As for, I don't know if we've even talked a little bit about this, but things that are coming up that are exciting is just, WPSL's coming out with WPSL Pro for 2025, something to kind of look forward to for, next year. But yeah, I'm super grateful to just kind of see how every year since the pandemic, we're able to amp things up even more, even since previously before the pandemic, how much we've been able to up our game, which has been awesome to see.
I think I want to get both of your perspectives, or whoever would like to answer, just the state of women's soccer in general, how you're seeing the growth of that, where you see our opportunities moving towards, and just what your opinion is on what's going on in the world of women's soccer.
I think there's a lot of opportunities out there, and we're now, I think, more fully recognizing them and trying to take advantage of them. And provide more places for women from the top to the bottom of the soccer world to play and get out there and in the way that they want to, and that's important. And I think there's more of a recognition now than there was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So our organization, I think, wants to find a way that we can help with that. Make those opportunities more accessible. Support organizations that do that. I think that's our role. But I think the women's game is. I really like the women's game. As a referee and looking at it, it's how would I'd say it has a different flavor to it. It has a different flavor to it, and it's very enjoyable. And I think the more people get exposed to it that maybe weren't earlier or weren't soccer fans, I think it's so easy for them to like plug in and get excited about it. That's so whatever we can do to help that happen, it's great. It's great. But it's groups like WPSL and Kendra that are on the ground doing that work. So.
Yeah, again, I mean, growing up, I didn't have these kind of opportunities, that these girls have now with all these different avenues. And even though even league play where these, clubs are affiliated with the GA or the ECNL and, all those different kinds of things, like growing up for me, myself, it was exciting for us to be able to fly to California to go play in the Surf Cup or something. Like that was our competition. Like, if we could pull that off, then, that was awesome. Whereas now, and I'm so grateful to see it where, there are so many different avenues for these girls to go to at different levels. And it's also, again, I was a part of the WPSL back in the day, and I continued to watch the pro league fold, and it was devastating. Like, why is this happening? Whereas now to look at the NWSL and see them finally thriving and doing well, and, seeing how many, ticket sales and fans that they have, and, watching all the experience of all that has been so, overwhelming with joy for me, because I didn't really have that growing up. And I'm so glad, like, even for my kids, that they have the opportunity that if they ever wanted to have that, it's there for them. So for me, it's been really exciting to watch.
When you look specifically at this league and see how much it has grown over the last couple decades that you've been around it, what is the first feeling you get noticing how far it's come and that you've been a pretty big part of that?
Yeah, I mean, from the time that I was just a basic player to the time I was just running a team, there was one conference to, when I started my team in 2008, we were the only team in Utah. And so our travel was hard. It was hard. I mean, it was 12, 14-hour drives, every weekend was a travel 3-day weekend, to where now in Utah, we have our own conference of 6 teams, which has been so awesome. It's been so awesome, for me to help grow that, but also to have that for our state, for our girls, and I know a lot of them don't understand like what it took to make all of this happen for them to what it used to be. Mm-hmm. But it makes my soccer heart so happy to just see the big changes that it's had over the last decade even.
And it's something we talk about a lot, all of the progress that we have made, because we like to celebrate how much progress we have made. And hopefully, the next generations are laughing about having to drive 2 hours to play instead of next door. Yeah. But it really is amazing to see how much progress there has been, and it feels very encouraging to look around and see the landscape that there is now. And as you said, that we didn't have when we were growing up. And so it's really great. And I'm excited to see what 2024 has in store for the league and for women's soccer in general. Do either of you have anything else you want to say to the clubs, to the teams, to the fans who might be watching to wrap up our interview?
I mean, for myself, I am just super excited, to kick off our 2024 season. And, I love to sit and watch when the games finally get posted and I can watch them or watch live stream. But just the talent that's out there is unbelievable. And, and we show up to the Final Four and see those 4 teams. Like, it is so awesome to watch some of these kids come out onto that field and have that experience and see them perform. And, we talked about it a little bit in the meeting that we've never really had the same winner. And that just says a lot about the competition in our league. And so for me, I'm really excited to get going on our season.
I would just say, it's exciting to start a new season. Have a great season. Offering you an opportunity to win another championship by coming into the National Amateur Cup as a women's team, and so that's another opportunity. I'm excited about how that may help push things forward. So
perfect. Thank you guys both very much for joining us, sharing your thoughts and your expertise with us, and taking the time. We really appreciate it.
thank you, Katie.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
So we're going to take a really quick break, but don't go away. We will have more interviews coming up in just a minute right here at AGM. Welcome back to the WPSL AGM Live presented by Capelli Sports. We are now with the WPSL president, Mr. Sean Jones. How are you?
Very good. Busy.
Yeah.
Busy, a little bit hectic, but things are going really, really well.
I've seen you in every corner of the building.
Well,
So
yeah, I'll probably lose a little bit of weight this weekend running around from corner to corner. But
this is an exciting time having everybody here together for the annual general meeting. How do you feel like everything's going? How has everything been?
So far so good. I mean, to be honest, there's always things we can improve. Every year we sit down and we go, okay, what didn't we do well? This being our second year in this location was a lot easier. I think we, fixed a lot of things, did some things better, but there's always room for improvement, and that's, that goes without saying with everything, right? With the league, with the AGM, with the championship, we're always trying to make it better, for our team. So overall, I'd say, right now, B+, A-, but, can always improve.
We just announced the official roster of teams and alignment. 142 teams, 38, I believe, expansion teams. How, looking at all of the numbers, looking at the map, seeing all of these faces, how do you feel like we're shaping up in terms of the 2024 season?
Yeah, we're excited about this year. I mean, you can say that every year, but, we clearly, since the pandemic, have had challenges. Some of our clubs have had challenges, but we've got some great new additions to the league. Some of our teams, we had, I think, 3 or 4 teams that are taking a year off, trying to reorganize, which is great. We'd rather them do that than fail and, kind of get their legs under them. We had a couple clubs that struggled on and off the field last year that wanted to move down to the U21 level and try to kind of get their feet under them and find the right player fit, sponsorship fit, et cetera, which is great. We'd rather see them do that and continue on. But again, we brought in some fantastic clubs. I mean, we're very excited about the clubs we've brought in. Again, I'm excited to see them on the field. We always talk, we spend the whole year talking to teams, trying to, make commitments, et cetera. But when we finally get to see them on the field, get to see their results, to see, their players, to see the accolades their players and teams are getting, that's when it kind of becomes real and kind of becomes exciting for us.
There's a lot of new, I feel like, happening in this season, including new partnerships.
Absolutely.
We have Inlight, Huddle. I know we have the No Cap thing coming in as well. Talk a little bit about those partnerships and how great it is to grow not only the league but the women's game with including all of these new partners.
Absolutely. So, what's interesting when we took the league over, one of the first things we wanted to do was, talk to the partners, talk to the teams that have been in the league for a long time and kind of figure out, what does the league do well? What do we not do well? And one of the things we heard over and over again was, look, we got to find national sponsors. We got to find a way to help funnel money, funnel sponsorship opportunities to our teams to help them succeed, help them, last longer, et cetera. So we've got some fantastic long-term sponsors that have been with us for a while, like Select, Capelli Sports, et cetera, that have done a really good job for a long period of time. But we feel blessed to have brought in some new partners. And one of them, I honestly didn't know anything about till 2 days ago. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea this group was a sponsor, which is Inlight, which I think is a really valuable tool. I'm very interested in learning more about their platform and how they can help our teams. Huddle is a big one. We unfortunately, the streaming partner from last year filed for bankruptcy, affected a lot of lower level sport, women's soccer, men's and women's soccer in the U.S. So being able to create that partnership, I think, was really huge for us. Not only was it, I think, huge for the league, I think it's going to really help solve some of the problems on the streaming side. So we're very excited about that partnership. And a lot of our clubs already have relationships with Huddle. So it was just, I think, a natural fit for them and us both. But the reality for us is, as we're able to bring in national sponsors, we're able to make sure our costs for the league stay low, that we're not having to as expenses go up, everyone knows everything in the last 3 years, 20% higher. We've not raised our fees, but part of that's because we're able to bring in national sponsors who can offset a lot of the cost of running the league, at the same time provide opportunities for our teams to generate more revenue. So, ultimately the goal for us is for everyone to stay in the league for, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We just know that that's tough in the environment at this level. So that's what we're trying to accomplish.
And with that, expanding more, providing more opportunities for the women's game and players to develop, and taking that even to new levels with the WPSL Pro, which
Absolutely.
is supposed to be coming into effect next season.
Yeah. So again, as we expand, as we grow, as we be, our social media channels, have more access, as people become more familiar with what the WPSL is, it's enabled us to try new things, right? And in the U.S. soccer right now, we feel there's a huge gap between the 16, NWSL teams and this, amateur summer soccer. Where do those college seniors go? What do they do? Do they decide to go and live in Iceland for a year and play, or can we create opportunities here? So because of that, we've worked on for we started it probably before the pandemic, but kind of had some fits and starts with the pandemic, and then with the announcement of some other professional leagues, trying to see where we fit into that mix and whether it was even, worth us doing, or whether it was even needed, right? And if it's not needed, we're not going to do it. We just don't want to do a pro league to compete with someone. Our idea is there's a gap there that needs to be filled, and we have clubs and partners that are interested in filling that gap. And so for us, it looks like we're going to be able to roll out late 25. We're right now working with U.S. Soccer on sanctioning as a Tier 3 women's professional league, and which will enable us to roll out hopefully in the fall of 25. The way it looks now, I think we've got I believe 6 committed LOI teams. Teams have submitted letters of intent, have made financial commitments. I think we've got a 7th one in the mail, actually, as we speak. Number 8, number 9, we're in serious talks with. I think will happen in the next month or so. I would guess by early spring, we're going to be able to announce in the 10 to 12 team range. We've got a lot of great things going on the social media front, on website designer. We're going to be able to roll that out, I'd say, in the next 30 to 40 days. I spoke with with some of the key elements to our strategy yesterday, and the idea is March 1st is the beginning of Women's History Month, and so we thought what a great time for us to roll out our website and our social media channels, et cetera, start promoting the ideas. So a lot of exciting things going on this spring.
I have watched a few interviews that you have done, and you came into this league already with the mind of how can I make an impact? How can I improve? How can I help elevate and make things even better than they are? I feel like you've worked really hard to do that. Going into the 2024 season, what's on your mind? What are you in the back of your head? You're like, this is the thing that I'm gunning for next.
Yeah. So literally every year we sit and say, what's worked, what hasn't, where can we improve? What do we need to do? And I think we've gotten a lot of those things accomplished, right? Again, they're never finished. It's just, we've gotten it to okay, we're here now. Where can we move it next? I think for us, we're really trying to expand a concept we started a couple of years ago, the U21, which is more for some clubs that maybe aren't large enough or financed well enough to do the full WPSL and commit to regional championships and national championships, but can provide something for their players locally. And that's expanding. Glass half empty. Maybe we have 30 teams this year. Glass half full. Maybe we have 60. We've still got about 3 more weeks to finalize those teams in that alignment. Expanding that, I think, is something we're really focused on, because I think that can provide a pathway into the WPSL for clubs that do it, enjoy it, players like it, find sponsors, and then maybe they become future WPSL teams. And I think the other thing that I really want to focus on this year is tenure. We want teams when we started in this league, when we took it over, the average team was around for about 3 years. Right now, I think we're up to 4.6 or something like that, average seasons that teams play. That number, I think, would be closer to 5 to 6 if it wasn't for the formation of the W League, which took some clubs that were longer tenured teams in our league, but they're really women's clubs associated with the men's team, and they've kind of had to go to that platform. I think we'd be closer to that goal, but again, we're constantly striving for that goal to get teams to exist longer, right? So how do we do that? We don't want finances to be a reason that teams have to go away or have to leave. So the better we can do sponsorship wise, making the league professional to where they can sell those sponsorships and finance their clubs and get to the break even point where they can exist longer, I think is a big goal for us going forward. The one other thing I'll say is, when the W League started, the USL rolled it out. We lost I'd say 20 to 23 teams, I think, that first year or somewhere in that neighborhood. Most of them signed a 3-year agreement. And I think those 3 years are ending. And I think, I know we've had several of those teams reach back out, wanting to potentially come back to this platform. We had one return this year. Again, we're hearing a lot of clubs that felt like they needed to go explore the grass on the other side of the fence, where the grass is always greener. Have decided the grass might not be greener, that maybe this is a better fit for what they want to do, because we are a women's league. We're not associated with any men's league. We don't have the pressure of the men's side of it forcing us to do things that aren't right maybe for our players and women in general. So again, that's for me kind of the focus for the next year. How do we welcome some of those teams back? How do we continue to expand? And ultimately, we don't want to expand for expansion's sake. It doesn't make sense just to get bigger. Mm-hmm. But what makes sense is to bring good quality clubs in that have the same vision that we do. But also, every one of those clubs that come in closer means instead of driving 5 hours, I can drive 3. And if I only have to take my team 3 hours, it saves me money. It saves an overnight hotel stay. It enables our clubs to invest money back into their clubs rather than into gasoline stations, vans, and nights in hotels. So that's kind of the goal for us.
We've talked a bit today with the other people that we've interviewed about the emotional connection to the sport and what kind of got them into it and what got them to stick around, and how it's kind of like this bug that bites and doesn't let go. And that's probably true for every single person that's in
Absolutely.
The meeting and in this room and in this league. I know you have daughters as well. What is that emotional connection for you?
For me, honestly, I grew up playing soccer. My parents went through a divorce when I was 14. I mean, I felt a real connection to my teammates, to my coach Ez, during that time. So I kind of got this connection almost like that was part of my family. Mm-hmm. Then as I got older, started, coaching. Got 5 children. The oldest one, was one of the kind of jokes here that they said, we didn't know you had 5 kids. We thought you had 4 girls. I said, no, I've got a son. He's the oldest one. Started coaching him. He went through, played a couple of years of college soccer, decided college was not for him, went to another path, and then went back ultimately. But it was not as involved in soccer as he got older. But I have 4 daughters. The oldest one started playing in this league when she was a sophomore in high school with the Oklahoma City team at the time. By the time she played for a year, and then I had another daughter a couple of years behind her starting to come up, the coach approached and said, hey, my parent group is kind of getting tired of doing this thing. Do you want to take it over? You've got 4 daughters growing up. They're all great players. You're going to be in this for a long time. And so, once I went and watched the WPSL, and I said, golly, these players are so good. I mean, the first game I think I attended, I think there were 4 national team players on the field between the 2 teams. And I'm thinking, there's 7 people watching this game. Why? Why isn't this more? Why can't it be more? And that kind of was the bug for women's soccer, and providing a platform for my daughters. But the daughter went off, played in college, came back every summer, and then her sister started playing. And I've got pictures at home where I've got 3 girls that played in games at the same time. 3 daughters. One was in high school, the other 2 collegiate players. The oldest one went on to play professionally overseas, and the third one went on to play professionally here in the States with the NWSL. So, the 4th one is now a redshirt freshman in college. So that's kind of been my motivation on the women's side. And to be real honest with you, I love all soccer. But when I started getting into coaching, I enjoyed coaching young ladies way more than I enjoyed coaching guys for whatever reason. I just clicked with them better. I always just felt a better connection with it, when we got to the level we had, one point had this level, I think a PDL men's team and a women's team. And we made a decision, I think after the second year, we were going to continue one of them, which one. And the guys that were in the ownership group, we all unanimously decided we wanted to continue with the women. We just felt that the players were more appreciative. It needed more help, right? It's easy for guys to go find opportunities. It wasn't for women. And so that's kind of been the reason we've gotten involved. And then, we ran our team for several years, but we kind of saw whether the league suffered in certain aspects. The gentleman that started the league, Jerry Zanelli, the trophy is named after Jerry, had done an unbelievable job growing this league from 6 teams to 70. But there were so many things that needed to be brought into the 21st century. Jerry, operated it out of his garage. He didn't know how to email. He had people type emails for him. Everything was kept by hand. And so we're like, Jerry, we can make this better, right? We can elevate the platform. And I think he believed in us enough when we started working with him that he wanted us to take it over. And so that's kind of, how we got to where we are. So anyway, don't plan on quitting anytime soon. So.
Well, I think it's great, and I think that the women's game is better for it, and I'm excited to see where not only the game in general, but specifically the league ends up,
Yeah.
because I feel like it's thriving, and it's got even more potential to go even further.
Absolutely. I mean, if someone says, well, when are you guys going to have enough teams? And I said, we'll have enough teams when everyone has an opportunity that wants to play, can play. That's when it's enough. And we're not there yet. I think we're in 30. I think I saw something that said 33, but I think it's more like 35 or 36 when you count the U21 states where we are now. Don't know that we're ever going to be in Alaska or Hawaii, right? That might be tough, but there's another, 10 states, 11 states where we aren't, that I know there are young women that want to play. And so we'll figure that out and how we make that work. So.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell the viewers at home, whether it's fans, club members, players, family?
No, I think the big thing for me is number one, I want to thank our staff, right? I want to thank my spouse, number one, for allowing me to do this. She's a huge support, clearly the mother of 4 daughters. And so she understands why this is important. But it's a sacrifice for her to let us do these things. But number two, our staff, right? I mean, our staff is amazing. We've got, I think, wonderful people in every role, committed, passionate about what they do. The one thing I would encourage folks that are seeing this to do is look, you've got, as committed and wonderful as our staff is, we've got 142 teams in this room that have committed and wonderful staff as well. And they're doing it for the right reason. And they're all involved in this because they want to see the sport grow, and want to create opportunity for women. So, even if you're not attached to a club, but there's a team, 30 minutes away, find their schedule, go watch a game, you'll enjoy it. It's a really good, I don't think people that haven't seen a WPSL game realize how good the quality is, how many amazing players we have. I think, over the last 4 years, I think half the players that have been drafted every year played in this league. Well over half the U.S. national team has played in this league at some point. So, it's a very high level. And you're bound to go watch a game and see some kid that's going to be an All-American next year. And the year after that, they'll be a Herman Trophy winner. And the year after that, they're going to be drafted in the NWSL. So, I'd encourage you, just go find a local team. Just go out, on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday evening this summer and go watch them. Go watch and support the local club. I think that's, if you're committed to women's sports, that's what you should do.
Absolutely. So. And if you want to find that schedule, WPLSellSoccer.com is where it's going to be in March.
Absolutely.
The schedule gets released.
It'll drop in March. So we look forward to seeing some of these folks at the games this summer.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. All right. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Stick with us. We will be right back with a few more interviews for you from AGM Live. welcome back. We are now talking with our partner, HEG Bands. This is Teddy. Teddy, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
I want to really get into the technology and what's going on here, but kind of explain what HEG Bands is and how it's involved with the WPSL.
Yes, of course. So we sponsor y'all, and HEG Band is a sweat-proof, waterproof, super lightweight headband, and it has this little guy in here that detects impact. So say, for instance, a player falls, gets kicked in the head, the coach, the parent, the athlete, they're going to get a real-time alert about that impact. So probably won't be able to see it great, y'all, but I can show you. So on the app right there, you've got no impact, mild impact, moderate to severe. And like when it's a really severe impact, it makes a super annoying sound and the player can't turn it off. Only the coach can. And, you know, as we progress with things during games, we'll probably have it be silenced and only like the coach would get that alert. But during practice, why wouldn't you want the athlete to know? And it would be beep, 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 beep.
Very interesting. And I was talking with Dr. Lester too, who came up with this product. And he was explaining that there are similar products on the market that test for the G-force.
Correct.
But what makes this product so different and so unique is that there are multiple data points that are included in assessing whether this is a low impact, moderate impact, high impact.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so different from anything else out there is it's going to let you know if it's mild or severe so that everyone can react appropriately and learn from what just happened.
And where does the crash test come in to play with the technology?
Well, we are working with some various universities, and so we've got labs, and we use crash test dummies, and it's pretty fun.
So it has the same sort of awareness of essentially like an airbag deploying in a crash test, and it has those same somewhat similar sensors, I guess, is kind of how to explain it.
Yep, exactly. So I don't have it in front of me because I can't. You wouldn't be able to see anything over there. But for instance, if I'm doing this lightweight, you're gonna see on that like a little. And then if I take this and slam it on the ground, you're going to see something totally different.
That's really incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to mess around with.
Yeah.
We haven't broken one yet, so that's good.
It can be very impactful for athletes, and to get this in the women's soccer space is quite interesting. How did you get involved with HEG Bands?
So women's health, athletes' health is especially important to me because I was affected by a traumatic brain injury, by a concussion when I was 16 years old. And it was due to negligence from all parties. You know, I was a kid. I didn't know any better. I wanted to keep practicing. And my coach was really excited about where we were. We were working towards a goal. So she was pushing me. And it landed me in the emergency room. And years of therapy, relearning how to breathe, how to talk, suffering from migraines, like it was a lot. It was a traumatic brain injury. I'm doing a lot better now, in case you couldn't tell. But when I heard about HEG Band powered by Movement Interactive, I was like, I have to be a part of this because not only am I an empathetic person, like this is my story, and I don't want any other young athlete to have to go through what I went through. When it's so preventable. You know, you have two teams, they're all wearing them. And what happens is, yeah, one concussion is bad. One head impact is bad. But it's when they build up over time that you get into a really dangerous territory. So with this, you're going to detect those small ones right away. So you can determine, hey, that was a smaller head impact, but still take some time, sit out for a little bit. Like you're going to have a much longer, more fulfilling career about a sport that you're passionate about and that you love instead of losing everything.
That's really, really impactful, coming from a place where it's a personal personal mission for you now, and it would have been great to have something like this as something to help for
Yes.
you whenever it was time. What is your connection, or where do you go with your story whenever you're talking with young athletes and you're kind of encouraging this, and this is something that's they're not familiar with and they're not used to wearing? How do you give that advice to them on the importance and the significance of it?
That's a really beautiful question. I think it's important to let them know that, like, right now feels really important, but your future is just as important, and you have to think about that. So yes, it feels good to play right now. It feels fulfilling, but you want to be fulfilled 10 years from now. So you have to think ahead. And what's really great about these and you guys is that we have custom headbands for every single team. Some of them we only have like 2, but some we have up to 6 different custom designs. So it's not like you're wearing this ugly, nasty headgear. You're wearing something cute, something you can feel confident in. And so if they don't get me talking about future planning, which not a lot of kids can understand that, I can be like, hey, you look cute. It's going to make your parents happy. It's going to make your coach happy. You should do it.
Yeah. And it's just remarkable that the technology is to a point where it can help prevent and inform.
Yes, we are all about early detection and informing coaches, informing parents. Like, and as a mother myself, my kids are going to be wearing these when they're old enough to get into soccer and all sorts of sports. Hopefully not bull riding, but if that happens, definitely going to be wearing one of these
underneath the helmet.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Well, is there anything else that you want to make sure that we tell people about the importance or the product itself? People at home watching, our fans, club members, players, family.
I think that what's most important is people need to realize that their health is important. You only get your one brain to last a lifetime. Why not protect it? I calculated it, and to be honest, I can't exactly remember, but let's say we're going to go with a big number, but let's say you have 80 games you play. You're only spending between like $3 to $5 on the total cost of everything. That's an investment in yourself, an investment in your future, and you are worth that investment. Why wouldn't you do it? So if anyone has any questions, they can come find me at the table. They can check out our website, research HijiBand, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Teddy, for joining us, sharing your story, and telling us more about HijiBand.
Yeah, thank you. Have you gotten a break at all? Because she's been here since last night. I don't know if you guys have been watching that whole time.
I just haven't I slept here.
You look great.
Thanks. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Stick around. We will have more coming up in just a little bit from the WPSL AGM Live. Hello, welcome back to the WPSL AGM Live. I'm Katie Parker. We are now here with Inlight, Randy May. How are you?
I'm doing well, Katie, and thank you.
Yeah,
Great.
I appreciate you taking the time to come over and let us throw some questions your way.
Sure.
So Inlight, new partner for the WPSL.
Mm-hmm. That is. Yep.
What is Inlight?
Next level ID tracking engine. It's
Next level.
ID tracking engine.
Okay.
That's the name Enlight. Yeah.
I see how that works.
Yeah, the company's been around, for about 3 years, and we are excited to be a part of the WPSO organization. It really stands for, we're looking at talent identification, we're looking at assessments, we're looking at talent management. So it's an all-encompassing company, and we're excited to be a part of WPSO community, and we want to see our software help grow the women's game here and develop it.
So I have a lot of questions of where I want to go to next, but why the WPSL? Why did you all want to be involved with the league?
Great question. And so a little bit about my background, first of all. I'm the director of sales for Enlight, and I've got 40 years of experience in coaching, and also been on the college game as the head coach at Cornell University for 18 years. I was there in the early stages of the women's game getting started. So I went through a lot of the challenges that the women faced, like our national team saw some of the challenges they had to climb these mountains to get to where the status. And so I am a part of this organization. It's kind of like this, I kind of identify for me, but also I think our Enlight identifies with the growth of soccer, what can be possible. And I really see this like, I was there at the early stages, and I know that we're not the early stages of WPSL, mind you. It's got 25 years of already built into the process, but I looked at this as a great opportunity. So we partnered with the MPSL, and two of my former players are a part of the MPSL leadership team. And I was talking to them. I said, "Oh, the WPSL, Kendra and her team, and Debray and Sean and Matt, like you gotta reach out to that group, because they really have a nice opportunity for you possibly to partner with them." So we decided, let's reach out, and one thing led to another. We met in December. Dan Court, who I'm with today, is a co-founder, and we met with them, spoke better part of an hour, just conversing, showing up the software, the capabilities. So it was exciting. They said, we got to be partnered with this group.
Tell us about some of the capabilities for people who haven't gotten to see it yet.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that there's a lot of things out there in the soccer world. I mean, I found that I was for me back in the day, trying to find talent without being on the field, right? You had to go to the field. You had to go to the games to see it. I had people call me and talk about it, express how they can support their player, their teammate, their own players. So we have obviously wearables out there now. You have the video capabilities. Mm-hmm. Our software is unique in the sense that we're going to now validate those elements and show, like, I'm going to validate as a coach. I'm going to validate you, Katie, as a player. I'm going to talk about your strengths. I'm going to now, and we have the KPIs built in. We're very unique. These KPIs are built, the assessment tools are built in. Templates, we have it somewhat already, some fundamental ones put in there, but this is where the clubs can now take their own KPIs, create their own, and now we can hone in. So this is one way of now helping players be identified, grow, and move forward in the game, and help the teams grow and move forward in the game.
So what are some of those data points? How are they helpful for the coaches themselves, and how would they access them and then utilize those?
Great question. So within our software, we have the capabilities of creating reports, and we can download those reports. We can then take those and analyze them. I can look at my overall team and find out where the strengths are. What are, I could probably tell you as going into an organization, say, well, tell me about your team today. Yeah, but I'm going to define it for more. I'm going to tell you what Katie's all about. I'm going to tell you what all the other players are all about in terms of where they are. So now that tells me where I have to now focus my attentions as the coach on my next training sessions. It could also be that I'm now looking at this from a club standpoint on a global perspective. If I have a youth program, how are my 8s looking, 10s, 16s, 14s? And so I now be able to build my platform. My assessment quality is going to be built in to help guide the direction, guide the coaching, take the philosophy of what the club has, what the philosophy the club wants from its players, and how they play and the style of play possible, because everybody has a different style, So you're taking those, but we build those into the KPIs. We get those reports now, and I can now share those reports with my my players. I mean, gone are the days where, I'm communicating with you on the field. I'm giving you feedback in practice. I'm giving you feedback in games. But the idea now that I can now, and that probably goes in one ear and out the other as a player.
Mm-hmm.
They go home and tell mom and dad or whoever they're reporting to, guardians, whatever. And they said, what did coach say? Well, he said it was awful today. I'm like, no, that's not what I said. What I said to you is that, Katie, you've got to work on this part of your game. So it's a coaching point, but they turn it into so with these reports that are handed to them and provided for them, it validates who they are. It validates their skills, and it creates an honest, forthright conversation. Because sometimes in our world today, everybody wants to be successful, and I wanted to be successful as a player, but I also wanted feedback, and I wanted it honest. And I really when I got to college, I finally got that focused feedback that I needed, and I went out and then worked my backside off, focused on those attentions, and I got myself on the field, got myself where I wanted to be, and our team, it grew. I grew because of the feedback I received. And so these are kind of the key things that these reports can provide. And it also provides an overall scope for the club to see where they are. Now, for the WPSL, it's a shortened season. We have the capabilities of building assessments for the players, their own personal assessments in. They can look at that and grade themselves on what they see. As the preseason goes along, coach he picks his team, they do their assessment, the coach looks at their assessment and goes, we've got a little bit of disconnect here. Your non-dominant foot, and so use that for an example, you're not an 8 out of 10. You're about a 4 or 5. Come on, we're going to be honest. Let's work on these parts. Now it's a shortened season, but still, that shortened season can still see growth in what you can expect from that player on the field. We can talk about, we look at the physical, the technical, the tactical, the psychological aspects of the game, and that's built into the software. So it gives you an idea. You may be the best player, but your temperament on that game, in the game, is like, oh my gosh, we touch you, you go crazy. Or you yell at the referee all the time. Like, the mental part of the game is so important, as we know, so we can identify that as something. So, you're getting reports, you're getting feedback, the data is being analyzed, it's being viewed, and it's shared. It's important.
I appreciate the point that you just made about, so the players can go in and kind of assess themselves as well and try to give themselves an honest look at how they feel they're doing.
Yeah.
And the coach can come in and do the same, and you can see if there are discrepancies or if you're on the same page. I think that's
Huge.
a pretty important thing that I haven't seen
Communication.
had the chance to be a part of before.
I think we all think we were good communicators, but I know as a coach, if I had this for years, and I did player assessments at the end of your college level, at the end of the season, we did assessments. That was at the end of the season. If I could have had this somewhat live document, I'm in education for 20 some years. My grade book was live. So when I put a grade in, that student saw it. And if a student wasn't performing in like that one particular day, instead of like, we had to have our grades in every week, once a week on a Wednesday. So that from Wednesday to Wednesday, I'm putting all my grades and catching up, and 170 kids plus each year. So I put a grade on the day. So I happen to grade that kid out in a specific day. I put a grade in 5 instead of a 20. You don't think there's going to be feedback right away being given? There's a message, not in a negative way, but a constructive sort of way. We got to build more honesty and integrity and a trust that if you're going to trust me as a coach, please trust me when my evaluations are not meant, they're meant to guide you. They're meant to build you up and not be this, well, everybody's got to have the A. That everybody's got to be the A type of thing is not, unfortunately, it's kind of like been lost a little bit in our path in terms of helping kids grow and players grow. You
mentioned a bit ago about youth teams and bringing them into the mix as well. Yeah. And I know a lot of our clubs in the WPSL have youth organizations as well, have academies. How is Enlight fostering and guiding these clubs who have those youth teams?
So like I mentioned earlier, if depending on the size of the club, now some clubs are huge, some are small. With them having, first of all, Enlight is a part of their assessment tool, I think that's an add-on value that most clubs won't have. So that's just a big plus when they go to provide a report like, hey, I'm on so-and-so's club. I mean, look I'm getting this kind of feedback. So we're now building that network, building the trust, building the communication, building the path. So now this path can be created with the softwares at the U8 level. We may do our assessments and we see where the kids are falling. And I said to you before, we start creating a data collecting point. And if it's done over a long period of time, you could really begin to see that where you are and how effective you are in your coaching within your club. and where areas of like, hey, I got my U8 team coaches. We're not doing the things that are necessary to get them where we're U10. We're still missing out. It's like building blocks in the school system. 1 + 1 becomes 2 + 2, becomes multiplication, division, and now it becomes more complex. The game becomes more, challenging as you move up. So having this software, having the data information, having this product in part of the club will help guide their instruction, guide their vision, and take them to a different level.
So do you feel like this is as important for the players and the growth and the development of each athlete, as important to the coaches and their development and their growth as coaches and the system that they are implementing within their organization?
It's going to be like anything. I think there's a challenge of trusting. I mean, the coach who, let's say, oversees the director of coaching oversees his coaching staff, is really sitting down and guiding them a little bit. Here's our assessments and how we view the game. So it's going to build the coach's capabilities of really fine-tuning coaching, because coaching is teaching. Teaching is also trying to motivate. You're trying to develop. You're trying to build somebody up. You also have to be honest enough in a game situation. So the coaches have to grow as well. And I think it's not a type of growth they're not capable of doing, because quite frankly, I mean, along my path of 40 years, there's some highs, there's been some lows. I've learned from successes and I've learned from failures. I didn't win all my games, and I certainly didn't lose all my games. But the games I won, there was a reason why we won. And the games we lost, maybe it's coaching decisions. Maybe it's because I put the kid in the wrong position on the field and I trusted that was going to be a good decision. It turned out to be, it didn't work out so well. But if I have some like data analytics involved in what's out there and being able to really drill down on things, it's important, because as you mentioned, the coaches can now take this software and fine tune it for each position: a forward, a midfielder, a back, a goalkeeper. And you can fine tune it, for example, as a forward back to the coaches, helping that coach realize, hey, for my strikers, I got to be able to play with the back to pressure, receiving balls on the ground. I got to receive back to pressure balls out of the air. And are we doing enough in those exercises in our drills to be able to make those kids be better at that? And if the kids aren't good enough at it, we got to spend time training to get them to where at least they're competent and being comfortable in those environments. So it teaches the coach to have to be looking at all the finer elements of the experience that the players are having and try to, let's enhance the training session. Let's make it a little bit more complex. It's always too simplistic. We got to make it a little bit more, add a little more element to that. So it's going to, it'll challenge some of the coaches, but in a good, constructive way. It's not going to be like, oh, this is more work. It's not that. This software is user-friendly. All our stuff is listed in tutorials on the page, so you can go there and just follow it and follow along. And for a coach, yes, we have assessments in there and a lot, some KPIs. You only need 2 or 3 or 4 KPI key points in each practice and put it in. And before you know it, you've got a data collection point over a couple of weeks. It's all there. And now you can share it. Come back 2 weeks later and see if we're growing, and the coach is seeing, okay, I got to hit this again. I got to come back to this. It's like being in the classroom, you got to, the kid's got some deficiencies, and so you got to go back and do some, retraining. So we're doing that with the coach, like not retraining the coaches, mind you, but helping them, guide them in what they need to do in a better way.
It really does kind of streamline the process of what we're looking out for and how to sort of help in that growth and development of each individual. We've talked quite a bit about some of the features and capabilities, but are there other important features and capabilities that you want to make sure people know about?
Yeah, I've touched on the fact that the assessment's flexible. I mean, it's unique that you can build your own platforms. I think from a talent management standpoint, I can put in there the practice. I can upload my practice for the day, or I can upload my practice for the next couple of weeks, so the kids can see it like a lesson plan. And I always went in the classroom. I put my lesson plans on the board so the kids knew, so I didn't have to answer 30 questions every day. What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, and then you spend 5 minutes repeating, what are we doing again? Like, please, it's right there. It's right. So, if I have a coaching staff, I mean, one of the co-founders, Dave Alway, and I coached together for 14 years. We would communicate, what are we going to do today? Before we went to the field, not like show up. Hey, what do you want to do today? I don't know. What do you want to do today? Like, it's already built in. It's already there. And so that practice information's there. We can do that in terms of the game. The unique thing is I can take my practice, and we have assessments built into the practice. We also have the capabilities of building assessments into the game. So those features are built in. So after the practice is over, I can go back and hit them real quick. After the game is over, I can go back and review the tape and then begin to assess from the tape. Because obviously when you see video, that's in the right category. We have all the wearables. That's nice to see what you've tracked. but I got to validate the player. This is about validating what I see on the field, because obviously from a tactical standpoint, I can watch a video and say, okay, we should have gone here. Yeah, that's giving the kid the knowledge. But now what I've got to do is that player capable of understanding what it's all about. You know, you look at athletes and how they can process information. I'd like to see that written down or validated. And so that's it. We have also the ability to, you know, communicate with the talent management side within the club, so the director could see all its games of all his teams in the organization, find out what the practices are, where, you know, how things are going. We could share, if you and I are coaching together, you know, we would like to sit down and go, what do you think about this player over here? Before we put any numbers in on the KPIs, let's talk about this a little bit so I can see where you're valuing yourself and how I put value on. So that's a shared thing. The other part of it is that recruiting, a huge recruiting opportunity. We have already built into software a profile sheet that can be shareable out to college coaches. They create it. I mean, there's programs out there. You're spending, I know one organization spending 500 hours for just their senior year to get them to be out. Like, we're not even in that ballpark. I mean, we're like, this is something you've got to take a look at, because we have that profile created. It looks so professional. You can add more to it. The coach can also enhance it a little bit to add to it, because we have a comment section in. And with our assessment piece, that's also printable. The player can attach that to their profile and say, hey, here's my qualities, you know, and it really is that's key. So, and we can post videos up on our thing. We can post pictures up there. So we can create banners for the teams and create their own, you know, banners, you know, can have their, whatever their club banner could be put up on the screen there. So it kind of promotes them, adds a sense of community, which is important. So it's a very, very all-encompassing type of software that we've
Yeah, it feels very robust,
very much so.
multifaceted.
And it's flexible. The one thing about it, it's flexible. It's more so than some other platforms. We have a lot of flexibility, and we have some great people that are working behind it. Like I said, Eddie Pope's been there, who's been, you know, Eddie's Hall of Famer. Dan Court's been in the world in the business world, so he's really much part of. We have a huge professional behind the scenes group that is really working hard to make sure our software is going to be the best and the most robust, as you pointed out, the word robust. I love it. The most robust type of software that's going to be available to the community.
Something that is intriguing to me and exciting. I go back to a quote that Carly Lloyd said whenever it was before she retired. She had reached age 30, or she was in her 30s, and she mentioned something about how she only just now started understanding the game. She, like, in a way that she had the physical, she had the skill, she had the fitness.
Yeah.
And only at that point in her game was she really able to put it all together with the mental side and the IQ, and then just really understanding what was going on the field.
Right.
And it really makes me wonder, now that we have all this technology and these athletes are getting it at a younger and a younger age, what that's going to look like for the women's game moving forward, because they're going to reach that point so much earlier.
Oh, that the year they won the World Cup and Brandy scored the PK.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down in North Carolina. I am like excited, because I'd already, you know, that was what, 99, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was in 82 when I started. And so I was like, you know, that whole journey I was on the regional ODP staff for many years, and I was part of those national camps and saw the growth. And one of the things I found interesting is that we looked at evaluation pieces and stuff, and understanding, like we just like Carly understand the game, is that we would basically hand a kid evaluation and be put where the copy would, like they get it, I get a copy, and where the next copy would go. We would be able to streamline all this stuff. So if Carly had the feedback back then.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, a lot of players, we would like to see them getting involved in a little bit of coaching on their own to see the other side of it, you know? And so we don't have that obviously in the software, mind you. That's just experiences, you know, life experiences. But I can appreciate where she's coming from, because, you know, I wish I knew, because I didn't have those chances when I was a player growing up. And I helped start a youth program, because we didn't have a youth program in my community. I helped start that back when took my year off and going to grad school. We started a youth program, my buddy and I, and now it's flourishing and prospering, because the kids didn't have it. I didn't have that growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I basically self-taught myself. I was too far away from where I grew up in Philadelphia in the suburbs to actually get into the city, because I couldn't afford to do that. So, and Carly is, you know, an example of, she grew every year, and then she reached the highest level, and she put on a performance of all time greatest performance ever seen. And I can appreciate what she probably learned getting to that point, and it's awesome. So
It's really incredible. A lot of the interviews we talk about how we didn't have this when we were kids. We didn't have this when we were growing up and going through the system. And I think what's poetic about that is we didn't have it, and we're bringing it. We're the ones helping usher it in.
yeah.
And hopefully these next generations are going to be so much better off for it. And I'm excited to see where it takes women's soccer.
Oh yeah. And you see those little young ladies in the stands emulating what the girls national team is and all your players like WPSL. I'm sure who have the youth programs, they get a chance to emulate that success as an adult to the younger kids as a motivation. Say, you can get out here too, get out there and put in the time. You're going to have to put in the time. If somebody doesn't knock on your door and say you're a better soccer player now because you've been sitting around on your videos. Not that we do that, mind you. Right. So it's exciting. And I'm really excited for our opportunity to be a part of this organization and to help you grow it. And I know that we have, just talking to the people here today, I mean, it's refreshing. Not that any other organization doesn't have that sort of energy, mind you, but this obviously is a very genuine belief that they're doing some great things. And, Dan and I, who are here right now, have been very positive for all the conversations we had with the leadership team. And what I think you have some great leaders in the organization who have a great vision for what's going to be. So we just want to join in and go along with the ride with everybody.
Well, we are excited that you are now on board with Enlight. Randy, thank you so much for joining us.
Katie, thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
We look forward to being around a little bit, and hopefully people can come in and take a look at the software. Because the biggest thing is we can talk about it, but if you can see our software and see what it's capable of doing, you'll be extremely like, wow, this makes complete sense. And it's hard, it's like selling anything. You got to feel it, you got to see it, you got to touch it to get it going, and make sure you get it going. It's exciting.
Well, it's the same as athletics. You get out of it what you put into it. So
100%.
if you can put yourself into it and use the software, you're going to get that much benefit
That's awesome.
in return.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you very much thank you. And
Absolutely.
looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. You watching, please don't go anywhere. We will be back in just a little bit with some more interviews here at the WPSL AGM Live.